Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Gaming News Roundup. It's a day that has captured the attention of both casual players and hardcore fans alike. Overwatch, the iconic team-based shooter from Blizzard, has just launched its highly anticipated, story-driven era, and the results are nothing short of remarkable. On its very first day, the game saw its concurrent player peak on Steam more than double, from 75,000 to an astounding 165,000 players. That's a surge not just in numbers, but in enthusiasm, signaling that the franchise's new narrative-driven approach is hitting the right chords with both new and returning players. This isn't just about a statistic, it's about engagement and the evolving expectations of the gaming community. Overwatch has long been celebrated for its fast-paced gameplay, competitive scene, and colorful cast of characters. But now, the introduction of story-centric missions is reshaping the way players experience the universe. Fans aren't just battling for victory, they're immersed in a world with depth, lore, and context. Analysts suggest this pivot towards story-based content could set a precedent for multiplayer games moving forward, proving that competitive gameplay and rich narrative can coexist successfully. The spike in concurrent players also reflects careful timing and marketing. Blizzard teased the story-driven content months ahead, releasing cinematic trailers, developer diaries, and sneak peeks that generated conversation across forums and social media. Communities on Reddit, Twitter, and Discord were abuzz with speculation about the new missions, hero arcs, and potential plot twists. That anticipation transformed into immediate engagement on launch day, creating one of the franchise's most successful Steam openings in recent years. The story-driven era represents a significant evolution for Overwatch. For years, the game's appeal was rooted in fast-paced matches, hero abilities, and competitive strategy. Players developed attachments to their favorite characters, but these attachments were largely built through gameplay and cinematics released outside the main experience. Now, the new missions integrate narrative elements directly into the game, allowing players to experience events, relationships, and conflicts firsthand. For returning players, this is a chance to reconnect with familiar heroes in a fresh context. For newcomers, it's an accessible entry point. Rather than jumping into competitive matches immediately, they can explore the world, understand character motivations, and feel invested in the unfolding story. Experts note that combining narrative with multiplayer action is no small feat. Balancing competitive fairness with storytelling depth requires meticulous design, iterative testing, and a keen understanding of player psychology. Blizzard's achievement here is noteworthy, both in terms of design and community response. The community reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. Streamers and YouTubers have showcased the new missions, generating tens of thousands of views within hours of release. Discussions on forums highlight fan theories, speculation about future story arcs, and analysis of gameplay changes. The spike in concurrent players demonstrates a healthy mix of excitement, curiosity, and nostalgia. In many ways, this launch is a lesson in how long-running franchises can innovate without alienating core audiences. Blending competitive gameplay with compelling storytelling. In other gaming news today, we turn our attention to Hjalmar Vikström, the co-founder and former chief development officer of 10 Chambers, a Stockholm-based studio known for the cooperative first-person shooter GTFO. After almost 11 years with the studio, Vikström has announced his departure to focus on health, family, and smaller, indie projects. Founded in 2015, 10 Chambers made a significant mark on the industry with GTFO, which launched in early access in 2019 and reached full release in 2021. In a candid LinkedIn post, Vikström reflected on the challenges and rewards of building a studio from scratch. Making games is hard, he wrote, acknowledging the toll the past years have taken on his health and personal life. Yet he also expressed pride in what the team accomplished, describing how a small group of 9 developers in the early access stage eventually expanded into a larger team that successfully delivered GTFO 1.0. His message emphasized both gratitude for the friendships formed and appreciation for the learning experiences gained over more than a decade in game development. Vikström's departure underscores a recurring theme in the gaming industry: the immense pressure developers face behind the scenes. While gamers see polished titles and exciting launches, they often don't see the long hours, stress, and sacrifices involved. Vikström's choice to step back and focus on smaller, independent projects is a reminder that sustainable creativity and personal well-being are vital, especially after years in high-pressure development cycles. For fans of GTFO and 10 Chambers, this marks both an end and a beginning. The end of a leadership era, but the beginning of potential new ventures for Vikström in the indie scene. Vikström also signaled a return to what he described as smaller games, emphasizing a desire to focus on health, family, and enjoyment. This approach is increasingly common among seasoned developers who have experienced the highs and lows of AAA or mid-tier studio pressure. By scaling down projects, developers can regain creative control, explore experimental ideas, and maintain a better work-life balance. It's a shift from ambitious, high-risk titles toward games that can be more agile, innovative, and personally fulfilling. The combination of these two stories, the surge of Overwatch players and Vikstrom's departure from 10 Chambers, provides an interesting contrast in the gaming industry. On one hand, we see the commercial and creative success of a major franchise adapting to player demands and innovating with story-driven content. On the other, we observe the human side of game development, the toll of years of intensive work, the decision to prioritize personal health, and the potential for indie creativity to flourish. Together, these narratives reflect the dynamic nature of modern gaming, a space where creativity, technology, and human factors intersect in complex, fascinating ways. Both stories highlight key takeaways for the industry. Developers must balance innovation with sustainability, narrative depth with gameplay integrity, and engagement with community expectations. Blizzard's Overwatch launch demonstrates how franchise longevity can be revitalized with strategic, player-focused content, while Vikstrom's journey reminds us that behind every successful game, there are dedicated individuals whose well-being is essential to long-term creative output. Looking ahead, the story-driven era of Overwatch will likely set a benchmark for multiplayer games. The doubling of concurrent player peaks on Steam indicates that players are ready to embrace narrative integration without compromising competitive gameplay. For Blizzard, the challenge now will be to maintain this momentum, release consistent content, and continue listening to the community while balancing the game's evolving structure. If they succeed, this launch could define the next chapter not just for Overwatch, but for multiplayer gaming as a whole. Meanwhile, Vikstrom's decision to step back and pursue indie projects may inspire other developers to consider sustainability and personal growth alongside ambition. In an industry often associated with crunch culture, his move underscores the importance of pacing one's career, valuing well-being, and embracing smaller, meaningful creative endeavors. As he reconnects with friends and collaborators in future projects, we may see fresh, innovative games emerge that reflect both experience and renewed passion. Ultimately, both stories reveal the heartbeat of the gaming industry, the thrill of millions logging in to experience new content, and the human stories behind the titles we play. Whether it's a global player surge for a beloved franchise or a veteran developer charting a new path, these narratives remind us that gaming is as much about connection, creativity, and community as it is about competition. For fans, players, and aspiring developers alike, the message is clear: innovation, balance, and dedication define success in today's ever-evolving gaming landscape. Looking at the bigger picture, these stories, Overwatch's record-breaking launch and Vikstrom's departure, highlight the two sides of the modern gaming world: massive audience engagement and the human realities of development. On one side, millions of players worldwide are logging in to experience new content, forming communities, streaming gameplay, and sharing reactions in real time. On the other side, creators are navigating the pressures, deadlines, and personal challenges that come with producing these experiences. It's a reminder that for every headline about player peaks or game updates, there's a human story behind it, often filled with hard choices, passion, and sacrifice. For Blizzard, sustaining Overwatch's new story-driven era will require constant innovation. Players are no longer satisfied with static experiences. They expect evolving content, meaningful character arcs, and events that keep the game feeling alive. The doubling of concurrent players to 165,000 on Steam is more than a record. It's proof that the market rewards thoughtful, player-focused innovation. This could influence other multiplayer franchises, pushing developers to invest more in narrative integration, cinematic storytelling, and seasonal content that blends competition with immersion. Meanwhile, Vikstrom's next chapter as an indie developer will be closely watched by the community. His decision to focus on smaller, more manageable projects could yield some of the most creative, experimental games in the coming year. It's a path that balances personal fulfillment with artistic freedom, and it also serves as an example to the industry that scaling down doesn't mean scaling back on quality or impact. In fact, many of the most memorable indie titles have emerged from developers who chose this very approach. Taken together, these narratives tell a larger story about the evolving gaming ecosystem, one where player expectations, technological innovation, and human creativity intersect. They remind us that success in gaming is measured not just in number, but in engagement, sustainability, and the ability to connect people, both as players and as creators. As we watch Overwatch's story-driven era unfold and follow Vikstrom's next moves in the indie world, one thing is certain: the landscape of gaming is dynamic, unpredictable, and endlessly exciting. The lessons here are universal, not just for developers, but for anyone invested in understanding how passion, innovation, and balance can drive success in creative industries.